Meet Francis, a South African family man with some Portuguese roots and a big desire to live in Portugal.
It's a very interesting area. I enjoy it a lot.
He convinced his wife to move their family to a lesser-known area of Portugal.
I know how difficult it can be for her sometimes, and especially with kids, and we even brought our dog over.
He talks about cultural and language adaptation.
My youngest is actually starting to pick it up a lot.
He makes comparisons to his home country.
It's Cape Town. It's the same as Cape Town, just minus wind.
He gives advice on living outside of a major city in Portugal.
Any advice for people to know like what it would be like to live there?
If you're making it your life to move here, I think it's good to get a little bit more to the outskirts. There are moments I said to my wife, I think we need to just drive to Porto just so that we realize where we are. It's not that bad going a little bit further out. I find that the prices get better and you also feel like you can immerse yourself a little bit more.
Francis, you're from South Africa, but you moved to Portugal and maybe a lesser known area. So we'll get to that in a second. But why did you move from South Africa to Portugal?
I am part Portuguese. So my mom was born in Portugal. She was born in Campania.
Okay.
So she moved to South Africa when she was 14 years old. And I've always had this special place in my heart for Portugal. So it was always that I was supporting Portugal in all the sporting events. But aside from that, it was just that I just had this very special connection to Portugal. But I got married, we had kids, and we started having this discussion whether Portugal or not Portugal. But I think it came mostly from me because of my history. Coming to Portugal was mainly to live another part of my life in a place that was very special to me. But there was also other factors. We'd been here in 2012 and I'd met some people in a church here in Maia and we'd connected. And since 2019, we'd been chatting about coming through to Portugal, and I wanted to plug myself into a community that was strong and be part of that. So yeah, that was the main reason, and also maybe just to have my birthday in summer for a change.
Okay, so is that ultimately why you chose Maia? Because it's a lesser known area for people, so why Maia?
It was a lot around that.
The community.
It was one of those things that we thought about because the community was there. We also thought about Castelo de Maia, which was a little bit further north. But Maia was just per chance how we found a place, and it was close to a good school, and that was exactly how we ended up in Maia. But we started to enjoy it a lot, so we even started looking for properties in Maia.
Okay, and did you find anything?
We did.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so we're in the process of buying property. We have approval from the bank on the property, so we're holding thumbs and we're praying that it will come through.
Okay, a lot of people hear horror stories of buying in Portugal. Have you had any problems on the Portuguese side of buying a property, or it's been pretty smooth?
I don't think we feel like we had any problems at all. We did apply at different banks. We had a broker also apply for us, but we joined the bank and we thought, let's try it through them as well. And they said, yeah, we'll give you the finance. And it actually is a lot quicker than we expected it to be, because in South Africa it would take a while, and then the registration and lawyer fees and all this kind of stuff would take 3-4 months to happen. Where once we were approved and we signed, we basically heard that we'd just sign a deed and it's done. The deed is done. Yeah.
Not bad. Well, that's exciting. Well, congrats.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So before we get too deep into Portugal, let's back up a little bit, because you said it was kind of like you talking to your wife, we should move to Portugal. How did she feel about that? Because she's from South Africa, didn't really have any ties to Portugal?
She doesn't, but she does have European ties. She's Polish. So
okay.
Her family moved from Poland in 1978 to South Africa. So she grew up in a Polish household. And so she also had a little bit of a connection. She's still got family in Poland, but she wasn't very happy with it in the beginning. She didn't like the idea. She likes comfort. We had bought a house in South Africa. She called it her forever home. It was one of those places that we got really comfortable in. The kids loved it. It was close to the school and all the amenities. But I had this feeling inside of me that Portugal was calling. And yeah, at first it just doesn't strike nice when you're sitting comfortably and you're going, wow, this is where I want to stay. So it took quite a while, but also there was moments where I was like, okay, maybe I must just let it be. And she slowly started to warm up to the idea. And in December of last year, it started dawning on her that this is a possibility. And I think the decision got made during our December break, because we have a longer holiday in December in South Africa, because that's the change of the school years. And we went away. We had a lot more time to talk about it, and yeah, so the wheels started rolling in January.
Okay.
So yeah,
And she's happy that she's here?
she is actually. She's enjoying it. She was able to take her job remotely, which was great, and she'd been with the company for 12 years, so it was good for her that was a possibility. And I'm very proud of her for how she's taken it on, because I know how difficult it can be for her sometimes, and especially with kids. And we even brought our dog over, so we've done a lot. And I think that our dog was our biggest comfort, like our familiarity, because we sold everything in South Africa. We decided to come here with a couple of bags, a couple of boxes, whatever we could fit on the plane.
Okay.
In 2 trips. We actually had a secret trip in March where we brought some stuff over as well,
Okay.
which was like our official commitment. And then once we'd done that, we moved. So yeah, I think that once we'd got in here, she's probably been the strongest out of all of us.
Okay.
which has been interesting, because for me, I feel like I wanted to work, so I'm always trying to say this, but she's been, it's okay, we're going to make it through. And she's been quite strong for the boys, and sometimes for me too. So
That's great.
Yeah.
Any initial struggles when you first moved that you didn't foresee would happen?
we arrived in July, and we didn't realize that everybody was on vacation.
Okay.
So
is it
everything
lonely,
took
or?
a lot longer.
Oh.
When it came to our residency, and we had to change addresses. Fortunately for us, I have my Portuguese passport and citizenship, and we'd recently put the boys onto Portuguese citizenship. So it was just about changing the documentation. Sometimes the language became an issue in those situations, when it comes to the bureaucracy. In the end, we got it all right. People started coming back to work, and things started happening a lot quicker. But yeah, we got them in their quiet time, which was a little bit of a challenge. Aside from that, we rented our place before we moved, so we went straight into the place that we stayed in. It's a great place in an interesting area, because it's called Altush, because all the buildings are so tall. It's where all the apartment blocks are. And it's the first time we'd ever lived in an apartment block. So it was something new for us as well. So we were excited. We took it on. We took it on, and we took the challenge and enjoyed it.
And do any of you speak Portuguese?
I only understand a little bit.
Okay.
And I'd been learning since 2019, but when I kind of took my foot off the accelerator, it was like I hung back a bit. I didn't want to immerse myself in everything again, and all the thoughts and all the ideas. But yeah, I think that my youngest is actually starting to pick it up a lot. He's starting to teach us what to say. He's been in school since September. But yeah, none of us speak, and I only understood slightly from my mom speaking to her father.
Okay. But the kids are picking it up. They're in public school?
One of them is in public school. One of them is in private school. The older one is in the private school because they offer a curriculum which transitions people from speaking English to speaking Portuguese, but doing the Portuguese curriculum.
Okay.
Which is something that we thought would be easier for him, because he struggles with languages. He's got an attention deficit disorder. So if he's not doing well, he'll just block. He'll stop and he'll say, I can't do this. So it's nice that they're able to do the curriculum in English, but slowly transition him into Portuguese. And hopefully by next year, he'd be able to move over to a public school. The other guy, we threw him in the deep end.
And he's good.
He's 10 years old. So he's really picking it up very quickly. I think that it is a big cultural shock. So they have most of the morning classes, which are going to be in English, and then they transition them in the afternoons to being a more immersive environment where they might do science, but in a Portuguese class. Mm-hmm. It's taking him a while. I think he still gets frustrated at not knowing as much as his brother is picking up, but I think that it's probably the softer landing for him in the end.
And did the community in Maia help you find this type of school for him, or did you research online to find something that would specifically work for your son?
We came in March to do a little recon mission, and we met up with an American couple who are in the community as well. And they said that their children go to this school and they have this program. So they helped us have that as an option. And then we ended up saying in the end that that was what we wanted to do.
Okay, good. So just kind of networking and meeting people and seeing where their kids go or anything in any type of industry, right? To find out more about the area that you live in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So then tell us about Maia, because I think a lot of people think of Lisbon, Porto, maybe Algarve, but Maia, maybe people have never even heard of, which is a little further north of Porto. So what's it like there?
I like it a lot. There's an interesting blend of it being a city. So there is a city center, and there's monuments and there's bridges and there's a big business center. But not too far, you are almost in a more rural area. What we found is that they've got very good sports facilities. It's central in the way that you're close to the metro when you're in Maia Central. The main thing was that we found that everything was walkable. It was nice to walk to places. We weren't too far from anything. They even had a little football field, a little outdoor futsal football field around the corner from us where the kids could go and play some football. What I found nice about Maia is just it felt like the people are quite warm in the area as well. So I think that was nice, but having people from our community close by as well was great. So yeah, it's a very interesting area. I enjoy it a lot.
Okay, so a little more space, but still connected to Porto by the metro. So when you want to get down into the craziness of the city, you have that as an option. Because you don't have a car, right?
We do have a car.
Oh, you do have a car. Okay.
Yeah, so we have it's a 12-minute drive into the city when it's not busy. So yeah, we are close. It's close to all the major highways. So yeah, I think it's very nice and central, but at least far enough away.
Would you say that someone, if they want to live there, they need a car, or they can make do with the bus and the metro system up there?
If you're close to central Maia, you could do without a car. But Maia has the center, but when you start getting further out, you're going to end up either using buses or because you're not on the main metro line where you've got more branches of it. So you have one metro line that runs through, so everywhere else you'd have to use buses. But I think it's more likely that you're going to have a car if you live in Maia. But we also found it good for the space, for us having 2 kids and a dog. And yeah, so I think that was quite important for us.
Because Maia is quite big, right? So, I mean, I think sometimes when people look at it, they might think it's just the central part where the metro goes, but it's a pretty big region. So you said about the buses. Do they seem to run frequently? Do you take the bus a lot, or you don't really need to with car and walking, metro? Like, what do you know about the bus system?
We're a little bit spoiled with the car, but the buses, I found that there's a great bus presence, if I can call it that. So the buses are always around, and I see that they get utilized a lot, and they tend to be full, but I also don't see bus stops that are full.
Okay.
So it feels like people are getting onto buses as frequently as they should. So yeah, I think that the network of buses is great up there.
Pretty good. Okay, good to know. Oh, I was going to ask, do a lot of people speak English there? Do you struggle with the Portuguese English? Is it hand signals, or how's that going?
I found that a lot of people, when you ask if they speak Portuguese, they speak English, they go, not very good, but then they speak way better than we expect.
Yeah.
So I think that happens a lot. Or there's always just somebody next to them that they'll nudge and they'll say, hey, can you just help us here? But we really haven't had a problem speaking the language. In the shops that we go to, in the coffee shops, the school, the football coaches, our kids do football. We registered them at Maia. So it's almost bad because I default straight to English if people are speaking English back to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that does make it difficult to learn the language. Same with here in Porto. So you mentioned that your kids play football, soccer, for us Americans. So the sports complex seems really good. There's a lot of sporting opportunities for kids, for adults, for what's that like?
It looks amazing, actually. They have a football facility where they've got a synthetic court, plus they've got a big stadium. I actually saw a B division game being played at the stadium the other day. And on the other sports side, they've got clay court tennis courts. They've got the arena where they can play futsal, handball, volleyball. And there's a great skate park there. So that's also cool. That was something my kids really got into when we arrived. And there just seems to be so much in this little park complex where the stadium is that people can get into. I think there's a big fitness culture. There's even a running strip right between the stadium and the synthetic court where people are doing sprints. So there is a lot of sport going on. I felt convicted that I should actually start becoming a bit more active since moving to Maia. So yeah, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, good. So do you see a lot of people exercising there, or is it like actual exercise, or is it more just getting into team sports?
I think there's a lot of exercise. I see a lot of people walking.
Okay.
A lot of people walk around Maia, but also there are lots of team sports. There's athletics that seem to go on. There's always people around the complex, and they're very much dressed in their sports kits, and it's all Maia colors. So they're quite proud of what they've achieved. So.
Okay. And are there a lot of expats up there? Have you met a lot of expats, or mainly Portuguese friends?
Mainly Portuguese friends. I've met a few people walking the dog, which has been great. But expats I haven't really bumped into a lot. I know that there is a South African community in Maia as well. But I think since we arrived, I think it's been kind of like get everything sorted. We've only been. I sometimes think it feels like forever, but we've only been here since July. It really has been a short time, but most of it's been getting back into work, getting kids to school. So I think that there is a community, but we're still yet to find it.
Okay, yeah.
But our community at the church is great. I think we kind of default to that.
Sure. And have you met any like Portuguese families with the kids' schools? Like the kids have friends, or do they make friends through playing football, or have the kids made friends?
The kids have made friends in football mainly, I think, and then also at our church. So
okay,
that's probably the two places where they see people more often. We get invited to birthday parties and things like that, so we also enjoy that benefit.
Good. Now, shifting a little bit, I'm wondering, since Maia's in the north, what's the weather like, and how are you adapting to the weather? Is it different from South Africa, where you came from?
It's Cape Town. It's the same as Cape Town, just minus wind. And I know that we've had windy moments because Cape Town, they call it the Cape of Storms. It gets very windy. It feels very much the same. I'd say it's slightly colder in winter, but it doesn't get as hot in summer. And Cape Town can be uncomfortable in summer.
Okay.
Because it gets to the 40s quite easily.
So it's a bit milder here. It's actually a pretty good transition then.
Yeah,
nothing
I do
too
like
extreme.
it.
Okay, good. Because sometimes I think people come to the north and they think it's going to be cold, it's going to be really rainy. But if it's fairly similar to Cape Town, maybe even a little better because not as extreme. So it works for you.
Yeah, definitely does.
Okay. Do you have any advice for anyone who's interested in moving to Portugal, but maybe not one of these bigger cities because you're connected to Porto, but you're outside being in Maia? Any advice for people to know like what it would be like to live there?
I think if it's for people that come from countries where there seems to be a lot more space, so South Africa or the States, the distances aren't that big. It may seem big to a Portuguese person, but for us, it's not that big to come into the city. A drive into the city or taking a metro into the city, we find that it's so easy, unless there's a bit of traffic, but the traffic is also not comparable to what we're used to. If I had to give any advice, I would say to people, it's not that bad going a little bit further out. I find that the prices get better and you also feel like you can immerse yourself a little bit more. But then when I come into the city, I just hear a lot of English and a lot of internationals. So if you're making it your life to move here, then I think it's good to get a little bit more to the outskirts. And yeah, it's not that bad.
Okay.
Distance-wise.
Is it lacking in anything that maybe you'd be like a person who maybe wants a really hopping nightlife or something shouldn't go there, or does it have that as well?
I don't know too much about nightlife myself.
Not the stage of life you're in, right? I get it.
Not that stage of life. We had a little cocktail bar across from our apartment when we were living there, and that seemed to have quite a nice nightlife going. But I think in the city there's, they have festas. We had a festival that happened almost the first weekend that we arrived, that we went to. I see the Christmas lights are all going up. So I think that there is, and I see a lot of youngsters going out and they're all dressed up. I don't know if they're going into the city, but it feels like they're walking around Maia and they've got places there. But as far as nightlife, I can't tell you exactly where people are headed. But I think that I don't feel like it's lacking, especially for a family.
Okay.
Like for me, I feel like we've got everything we need. There are moments I said to my wife, I think we need to just drive to Porto just so that we realize where we are, because we get comfortable into this suburban living. It's almost a bit of a suburb living out that way, and it's something that we're used to.
Okay. Well, at Expats Everywhere, we believe that living abroad transforms lives. So how has moving from South Africa to Portugal transformed your life and your family's life?
I think it's brought us a little bit closer together. I think when you're in your comfort zone, you don't always rely on each other as much as you do when you're in a situation where you're all learning the same things. You're learning the language together. You're learning a city together. So for me, it feels like it brought our family closer, because there are tough times as well. There are times where we feel challenged. The house buying situation. I know that I said it's been a good situation, but we've had some challenges along the way as well. But I think it brings us closer together to rely on each other as a family. And I think that for us has been the biggest growth, and me seeing qualities in my wife that I may not have seen for many years coming back up again. And she probably sees the same sometimes from me. But yeah, I think that the family element has become quite a big part. And yeah, we just like to be there for each other.
That's great. Well, Francis, thanks so much for joining us
Thank
and
you.
talking about Maia. And if you would like to know more about Maia, then check out this city guide right here. Now let's get moving.